Hello and welcome to the next episode of Daemon Time. This is the podcast where we talk about House of the Dragon episode. So it's a couple days after they come out. I'm your host Declan, and I'm with Max. And now joining the pod is Ben. Hello, Ben. How's it going?
Hey, it's great to be here.
Great to have you, Ben. Ben, I'm going to ask you the same question. I should have prepped you for this. I apologize, but I'm going to ask you the same question I asked Max this first time, and also I answered. How would you rate yourself as a fan of A Song of Ice and Fire, Game of Thrones, like just in general,
How would I rate myself?
Or like how big of a fan do you think you say you think of yourself?
I would say a moderately big fan, but I'm not like an uber fan, I guess. I know with any type of material like this, you get the uber fans that can speak Dothraki.
Absolutely. And right. Also, are you a book reader or more show?
I have watched all the show, and I've read most of the books, I think. I have not read the most recent Game of Thrones book.
Fire and Blood, I presume.
No. I thought you were talking about Dance with Dragons. Well, define recent.
The one before Winds of Winter.
Right. The book that will definitely come out. I say coping so hard right now. No, it's a good book. It's a good book that a bold opinion to have on a House of the Dragon podcast. Anyway, so we're here to discuss the second episode of House of the Dragon. Though first, I just slightly big news that broke a little bit that we were talking about. Might as well bring it up here. It was announced that Miguel Sapochnick, the second showrunner besides Ryan Condal, is stepping away after this season. Do you guys have any thoughts on that?
No.
I think it's unfortunate. Obviously, you want him to not do a show that he doesn't feel like doing, that he has burnout about. Obviously, he's worked on this universe and adapting it to TV for a long time, and it's such a task that like you can totally understand why a guy would want to move on to something new, a new creative universe to sort of dive into, instead of kind of playing the same beats, especially since so many of the characters in Fire and Blood and House of the Dragon are basically parallels to characters from the main story. I can totally get it. However, Sapochnick was really good, and he's somebody who has, I think, the not just potentially, but the unique talent of taking George R. R. Martin's vision and his story and adapting it to the TV medium successfully. He was, a big part of many of Game of Thrones' best moments, especially as it pertains to, adapting the book story. And he, I think he was off to a pretty great and very, book loyal start to House of the Dragon. So, he is close. So obviously close associates with Ryan Condal, the other showrunner. And they've really done a lot of this obviously together. So, it's not hard to imagine him taking the mantle and running with it, but it's still it's still a tough loss for a Game of Thrones adaptation to not have Miguel. But look, it's going to be big for him, I think, to sort of spread his wings a little bit and do other things. And I'm really excited to see what those are. It adds a question mark to season 2 of the show, especially a season that is going to carry the meat of the more of the payoff to what's being set up in this season.
Well, I think that segues perfectly into there's a question mark still in season 1.
Yes,
we're at episode 2. Is it any good?
I would say, I know this is controversial to you, Ben. No, I'm kidding. That's a joke. I thought this was another great episode. I think I probably like the first one a bit better. I think this one had a bit more like setup to it, kind of. But overall, I thought this was another real solid episode. But what about you two? What did you think of this episode?
Yeah, I mean, I liked it. Again, like I don't know if it was better or worse than the first one, in my view. Like it didn't have the tourney scene, which is good because that scene was awful. But like I think it was it was very much a second episode of a show, which is functional, but not like one you're gonna remember. But at the same time, like, the drama was compelling, the characters were interesting, the setup was good. I think they generally, with a couple of exceptions, continue to do a really, really good job fleshing these characters and their motivations, and their, sort of roles within the story out. I thought Corlys Valerian really stepped into the spotlight after just being a silent commanding presence in the first episode. As well as his wife, Rhaenys, the queen that never was. She was great. Her scene with Rhaenyra was great. So I think that, like, a lot of the dramatic, intra and interpersonal character building was really done in this episode. And I think, like, it was compelling. It was good. I think the one thing you have to avoid in episodes like this is that you don't get boring and dull. And I think they did that. It didn't necessarily have the super, like, sort of high strung tension I think of the first one did at times, particularly with the scene with Daemon and King Viserys in the throne room, which was I think still the best scene in the entire show. But as well as the of course the childbirth scene, which really captured the audience. But like, it's you don't always need your episodes to be a Ferrari. Sometimes you need them to be a nice Ford Focus. And I think it's clear they know what they're doing, at least so far. Mostly, with a few exceptions. But like, yeah, no, it was a good episode.
Yeah, I will say in my opinion, this is just my opinion. I really liked Corlys's like speech on Valerian history, of House Valerion's history, and like sort of what he feels like his places and how he's had to like struggle for everything. I thought it was a really cool speech. It was strange how it was like, oh, it's Daemon, like they started to reveal. But Ben, what did you think?
Well, first, I want to mention, I find it kind of funny. I get a lot of Ironborn from like personality from Corlys, but he's also the fucking richest man alive. So
he is.
He's definitely not paying the iron price, but good energy.
Yeah. He sailed all the way to Ashai, which, if you know the lore, that's damn far away from Westeros.
Yeah, it's fucking far. Also, that's something that I did want to mention. So I do enjoy these episodes. I think they've been pretty good episodes, that I hear this material. And I don't know that it's, I would say I like the first episode better, just because I feel like more interesting things going on.
Yeah. A bit more spectacle kind of
stuff. But I think the one thing that I am missing from the show is the variety and location. With Game of Thrones, like, the stories were one thing, like, you're managing lots of different stories, but you're also like developing the world. And I think that's one thing that does suffer, whereas we do get different locations, like they go to Dragonstone and stuff, but all these main characters are interacting with each other so much that we don't get to see, like, it expands the, Targaryen and Valerian, expands the families, like, lore and the history. And I'm sure we'll see some locations, that we have not seen yet. But we really don't get to, like, expand the world, That's the one thing that I am upset about. or the fact that like we have to focus so much on the Targaryens. I feel like with this story, because a lot of it, with the upcoming Greens and Blacks, it's a lot about the support in the other families too. So I wish they would have started with more like families. I mean, even if you're not spending all the time on them, you can spend time in other places and see what they're talking about with the Targaryens. Good to get those different points of view, especially because the history book is all just history based on like what a maester, a fucking jester named Mushroom.
Yeah.
Come on.
And Septon Eustace.
Yeah.
It can give some more viewpoints with a show like this. So that's my only complaint.
I will say.
Oh yeah, sorry, Declan.
I'll just very quickly say I do see your point. I'm hoping that the Stepstones acts as like I feel like that's definitely a region that has barely been touched at all, even in A Song of Ice and Fire, really. So I'm hoping that'll be cool to see. Credit where it's due to that goddamn crab mask and the ensuing crab battle that will occur. But it's that was scary in all honesty to me. But I see your point. It is very King's Landing centric.
I actually wanted to mention that the way they made the crab feeder out, like in the end of the episode, like, is this going to be the next his name Night King?
Oh yeah, the Night King. Or even Rams.
Made him seem so like supernatural and weird. Crab feeder.
Yeah. In the book, he's sort of just a guy.
Yeah.
Like I won't lie. I forgot. I don't remember the crab feeder.
He's mentioned in passing, explaining where basically it's George R. R. Martin's way of explaining where the hell Daemon Targaryen went for like 10 years. Basically vanishes from the story, and then comes back. Sorry, I got an eyelash in my eye. And then he basically comes back so that he can marry, I don't want to ruin it, somebody. And then they die, and then he marries somebody more important. But they have to explain where the hell he was until the Dance of the Dragons. Basically, he goes with Corlys Velaryon to like fight in the Stepstones. Oh, and that's where their alliance like is formed. Although I thought that was one of the stronger scenes in the episode and the series so far. Because like it's not just that they went down to the Stepstones together and fought some
dudes
barely named enemy, but they sort of set it up with Corlys Velaryon being turned against Viserys by him irresponsibly spurning well, not politically irresponsibly, morally. Well,
it's complicated.
Talk about that later. He's screwed either way morally, but like taking an imprudent political route, and spurning Corlys Velaryon's marriage offer, and so basically we saw it as a Robb Starkian slight against Corlys Velaryon, which is what turned him, sort of turned him into the arms of Daemon as an ally, and sort of creates more of an impetus for them going down to the Stepstones, as well as creates more of an emotional, dramatic reason for them to be aligned in the Dance of the Dragons beyond the political,
ties with.
Okay. Obviously, Rhaenys is going to side with Rhaenyra's claim because for obvious reasons, and Corlys is obviously going to side with her, and Daemon sides with them, I guess, because they fought in the Stepstones and for reasons you'll see later. But like it actually sort of sets up a sort of dramatic reason, in a similar way to Walder Frey siding with Tywin Lannister. And I think for similar reasons. Like I think the biggest reason that 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 Viserys decided to marry Alicent is for the same reason Robb Stark decided to marry Jane Westerling, at least in the book, is because like it's very likely that he did take her virginity, which is obviously so disgusting, and way more disgusting in the show actually than the book for the first time, maybe in the history of this series. They made something worse in the show, because Alicent Hightower in the book is 18 when she married Viserys. Which is still yucky, but is way better.
It's exponentially worse when she's like 14.
Right. But the reason she's 18 in the books, and this sort of leads me to a point I
wanted to bring this up.
Wanted to make after the episode, is that aging down of Alicent Hightower, it destroys the contrast between her and Laena Velaryon, which basically makes it so that there is no reason to choose Alicent above Laena Velaryon for marriage, because they're both disgustingly young. So like at that point, like they're both disgustingly young. But in the books, like, the Maesters propose Laena Velaryon, who is 12, which some theorists like Preston Jacobs on YouTube have suggested is very sketchy. I happen to agree, because that is an obviously bad match, with the preferable alternative being the 18-year-old Alicent Hightower. But when you make her 14 in the book or in the show, you're basically eliminating that contrast and basically making so that like he took the virginity of a 14-year-old, if that is indeed what happened, which I suspect is the case. He took the virginity of a 14-year-old, so he's going to have to marry her. But it was beyond the pale for him to sleep with a 12-year-old. Like, dude, you slept with a 14-year-old. You're a pedophile anyway. Contrast.
Forgetting something. She will mature.
Oh my God! Yeah, but the contrast. The contrast between
that line killed me, man.
That was so gross. Like, the contrast between, oh my God, I can't marry Laena Velaryon, she's 12.
I definitely agree.
The contrast is gone.
I feel like there's no reason to age her down. I think the only reason they did it is because they aged Rhaenyra up to 15.
Yeah.
And then now they're like besties.
They don't have to be of an age. They could be 3 years apart and be best friends. Like
exactly. But if you age her up, like there's no reason to age her down. Like
also Rhaenyra and Alicent being friends is stupid. Like that's a
like I don't understand the change. I understand the change sort of, and that they probably just didn't want to deal with an 8-year-old actor.
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I get aging Rhaenyra up. There's no narrative problem created by that, but there is a narrative problem by aging her down. And 15-year-olds and 18-year-olds in Westeros, I mean, they can be friends. Like that's not weird at all. There's also, you don't have to do that. You can just make them rivals from jump.
They just want to set up. Sorry, I guess that's a bit of a spoiler. Yeah, we can't talk about that.
Yeah, what? I will just say one
where it's heading.
Oh,
I feel like they made that change because of where it's heading.
But like
dramatic effects.
I do have to say one thing, just like to go back a few points, just to like, otherwise I would never forgive myself. I do think on the choice to marry Alicent over Laena, even in this context, I don't think it's not as bad of a political marriage as the marriage to Jane Westerling was for Robb Stark. Like
that's insane. But it's similar in concept because
it's a slight
because he took her virginity and pissed off a potential ally. Like it's not. Valerian is not going to. Valerian is not going to kill the Hightovers.
You pissed off the richest family, not just any family, and also
that's true. That's true.
Fine with the Targaryens forever.
It's definitely not a good like in terms of the intercourt politics. It's not a good thing. I would say for like a war, for the stability of the realm.
It's huge for a war, and it actually does become huge for the war because war. Valerian is the largest fleet in Westeros, and basically what happens is that the Greenes, when the war starts, this is definitely not gonna. I don't think this is gonna happen in the show. It's such a detail, and it involves introducing new characters and stuff, which I think they should do this.
They should.
Actually, I think it would be really interesting, but I don't think they will. So basically what happens is that because the Black faction has Corlys Valerian's fleet, the Greenes have to go court Dalton Greyjoy.
Oh yeah.
In order to get like the second powerful fleet, and in order to counter it, because otherwise they would get blockaded very, very easily. So it actually is a huge issue in war, and you don't want to have to rely on, at least in the books, the 16-year-old, hot-headed Dalton Greyjoy.
By war, I also just want to mean in the contrast of the realm is at peace at the time Viserys' marriage. Robb is in the middle of a war.
Yeah, no, that's true.
Like that's what I meant by a war, kind of. But you are absolutely right.
But at the same time, Viserys' great flaw is not understanding the succession crisis that he's creating, and understanding the fact that you are going to need these allies just because you're going to need to unite, because the fact of the matter is, if the Valerians were on Viserys' heir's side, there is no war, because I don't think Rhaenyra goes to war by herself against the Valerians, and the Greenes probably wouldn't be involved. But I
gotta say something. So at the end of episode 1, Viserys gives his whole speech about the White Walkers are coming, the area, and how everyone needs to be united, telling Rhaenyra how to fucking rule. It's like, this guy can't even unite his own council. What are you talking about? The White Walkers came during this moment, they're screwed. No one is coming out of that alive.
Yeah.
Well, although I don't know, because the White Walkers came when, Cersei saying, "Oh, let them fight each other," and they got one stabby kid, and they won. So
they got it. They're all finished.
But she was prophesied.
Who would win? Who would win? One entire legion of zombies or one stabby kid?
Yeah.
I kept thinking about this. I'm like, you know what? Anyone could have slain this thing. Theon Greyjoy.
Honestly, what I almost wish they had done. I sometimes think about
a real weapon. He would have had a chance.
I almost wish they somehow got every single person who people have theorized could maybe be Azor Ahai, and everyone simultaneously this is ridiculous. I don't actually mean this, but everyone just simultaneously attacking him, and that's what causes the White Walkers to die. Is that in the one
friendship? Friendship is what beat them.
Yes, precisely. The power.
The real dagger was the friends we made along the way.
Yeah, like Davos, Jaime, Theon, every single person, Jon Snow, every single person, they all come together with the power of friendship, destroy the White Walker threat. Yeah, that's what I want to see.
You know what? I think any of the direwolves could have taken him down.
Except they're all dead. Except Ghost. No.
What they don't have Valyrian steel in their mouths.
Sure.
We just you just gotta equip them,
True,
no. They would have come up with these Valyrian steel tips.
Your Grace, I've come up with these dentures that are made of Valyrian steel. You put them on the direwolf.
The mouth guard, but it's just gotta
we're making fun of it, but the more we talk about it, the more I think they should actually do that.
And that's
a good idea.
The more I think about all of this stuff is definitely possible. And if Arya could kill the Night King, any of these things could.
Hell yes.
Why not? But not
they literally don't need to be united. They just need one person with the dagger that Viserys is currently holding.
They need Lord 20 of House Goodman. I will give credit a quick to get back to the episode. Another moment that I kind of like, just like from a lore perspective, is I did enjoy the conversation between Lena Valerian and Viserys, where like she was asking him about when he rode Valerian for a brief moment.
Valerian, yeah.
Yeah, I for some reason I just felt that was just cool to hear like Viserys talk about Valerian the Black Dread. You know, like it's like, oh, that's such a like a weird that's what I would ask Viserys like if I was in that position.
Yeah.
And so I felt that was cool.
I would ask him why, like, honestly, like I get that he has to remarry, but he also sort of doesn't.
He is the king.
Yeah, but like he has an heir.
Mm-hmm.
Like if I were Viserys, I would like say screw the pressure. Like you can't force me to do anything. And second, like, oh fuck, I knocked my computer over. I don't want to create a succession crisis, but I probably couldn't do that. Because like it's just so expected of him.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, like Viserys, you know, he doesn't have the spine to do anything like that either. Like he's so susceptible to manipulation, and he's so vulnerable.
Valerian was such a beast. Yeah. When Viserys started riding him, he just started dying at a faster rate.
Instantly. Like, it's like, oh no, I chose Viserys. Fuck. Okay, you know,
guy's riding me now.
That's it. I'm giving up. I'm dying.
I'm 200 years old.
Jesus Christ! I had Maegor and Aegon the Conqueror. And fuck it.
His skull's in the
in the chamber or
the chamber.
Yeah, that was cool to see Valerian's skull. You know how fucking massive that thing is. That was a cool thing, and good for like him talking about prophecies and all that. You know, the
doom of Valyria. Also,
and of course, there's also his freaking cones of Dunsinane, not Dunsinane, but still the massive model he's made.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he made the cones of Dunshire. Yeah.
Dunshire. Thank you. I was blanking on the.
Yeah. I mean, like, yeah, that's Viserys is pretty pathetic. Like, so I mean, like he's like I said, he's so vulnerable to the manipulation that like, as meritless on the surface as Daemon's hand would be, he's basically like before they became estranged, Daemon was basically his only like the only person at court who wasn't really out to like
use.
Well, like he you know, that whole conversation was about protecting, about how he could as hand protect Viserys from, you know, the manipulations and scheming of his council.
However, that would maybe introduce another problem where maybe Daemon's hand is just way too unstable and starts
it is
the council.
Yeah,
it is, but at the same time, like it just goes to show you how, like, you know, without a real viable protector, like the only viable protector he had, the only person who would call them out, who would sniff out the manipulation and root it out, is somebody who just cannot rule the kingdom. Like, so as a result, like, you know, a wedge ends up being driven between them largely by Otto Hightower, who is super gross, super manipulative, very much, you know, a little finger. Like, people often compare him to Tywin Lannister, which I think is ridiculous. He's much more Littlefinger than he is Tywin Lannister.
Hey, teenage daughter, go and talk, wink. And by wink, I mean have sex with the king who's grieving and much older than you. Okay, and he wear my dead wife's dress, who is also your mother. Like,
he's very fucking very Littlefinger. He's much more Littlefinger.
True. That's true.
Tywin are that he's just hand. Like, it's like, oh, who's a stable guy who was hand for a long time? Well, that's just like Tywin Lannister, I guess. Same. ridiculous.
He has a
But
beard, you see, and that's just like Tywin Lannister.
Tywin Lannister doesn't have a, well, he does in the book, but
he's like Tywin in that he's, trying to get his family to succeed.
True. Yeah, he's
Well,
from a
Tywin-
powerful house, but he's like he's like Otto is like the younger brother. Tywin came after Tytos, and he has this weird psychological.
Tytos is his father.
Yes, but Tytos acts as this like weight on him that he constantly feels he needs to like overcome.
Yeah, but that is not. I don't like. I just feel like he's very much. He's almost like the Tyrells in the main series in Ice and Fire and Game of Thrones.
Yeah,
since that he's really just trying to marry. He's trying to weave his way into the rule of Westeros through marriage, which is an unconventional scheming tactic.
Yeah,
like
but Tywin
the
did
way he goes
do the
about
same
it
thing with Cersei.
Yeah,
Married Cersei off to Robert Baratheon.
Yeah, no, but like at the same time, he didn't scheme to do
I
it.
agree with
He just
you.
did it as a legitimate match. Like he didn't, he was gonna pick Lena Valerian probably until he snuck Alicent Hightower into his room and got all schemy and got Daemon out of the way with trickery as well. Because I totally don't think he said heir for a day. Certainly not in the book. But he's a lot. He's like a Littlefinger Tyrell kind of. It also helps that he's from the Reach. Otto Hightower is a really, really sinister guy. He was in the book as well. Rhys Ifans, I believe that's how you pronounce his name.
Yeah, I think that's right.
Is unbelievable. Just as he was in the equally good Amazing Spider-Man.
Everyone's favorite Spider-Man.
Which is actually the first one. The first one of those is not a bad movie. It's actually pretty good. Second one is terrible, but
that's all another story.
So different from that, from the Kirk Connors character.
Oh
It's
yeah,
so weird. It's just such a it's funny. These are both nerd things, but at the same time, the superhero genre and the high fantasy genre are so different.
Yeah, it's a meme among us, but I genuinely did not recognize Rhys Ifans as Otto. I feel like he completely changed his demeanor from when I
see him in the CGI lizard suit.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, he is a member of the Greenes after all.
Oh my gosh, that's why
he might bring the lizard costume back.
It's confirmed.
It is House of the Dragon, which are basically big lizards.
Oh my god.
I don't know. I think the lizard
my face there will be the thumbnail.
It's coming. It's coming on at some point. This show is full of Marvel movie, full of actors from Marvel movies that people hate, except for me apparently. Who are showing the fact that they're actually really, really, really great actors.
Yeah.
Matt Smith didn't have a lot to do in this episode, but he was really creepy and very Daemon-y as usual.
Yeah.
I don't know why this episode was called The Rogue Prince. He was in it for 5 minutes.
But I mean, he did have the egg thing. Oh, speaking of which,
the egg thing, that had nothing to do with it. What was the point of that?
Yeah. What do you guys think?
It was to show Rhaenyra was.
What is it?
To show Rhaenyra had to do something in the show.
She also chose Kristen Cole, everyone's favorite.
Yeah.
Oh God. That's gonna be, it's fun. The one thing I lament about House of the Dragon versus Fire and Blood is that we're not going to necessarily get as much of the ambiguity about things. Because it's a show. And even though it's going to be way less boring than Fire and Blood, which I think is better on the the positive end, it's an interesting debate as to whether or not Kristen Cole and Rhaenyra fell out because she spurned his advances or he spurned hers. I think it's totally that she spurned his advances because he hates her way more than she hates him at the beginning. And then they just hate each other a ton.
That's more because of the multiple murders.
He's super butthurt after whatever their falling out is, and then he's like, that's it, I'm putting Aegon on the throne, and I'm literally gonna fucking potentially kill the master of coin at the small council after Viserys spoiler
All right.
that you already knew about passes
Stop the
away.
spoilers. All right, we don't have much time left, so
It's true. Sadly, we need to get. I need to get Zoom Pro, but that's on me. That's on no one else. Subscribe to our non-existent Patreon, everybody. No, but I think we should wrap it up with maybe some final thoughts. I'll just say that I'm excited for this next episode and this crab battle. I am also curious to see Aegon himself, like how Aegon II, how he'll be as a character when he'll be introduced as a baby next episode. But we'll see how that goes. What about you guys? What do you hope for?
Well, I'm excited for this next episode, but I'm way more excited for the Rings of Power.
Oh yeah, that's happening. Oh my gosh, the freaking $1 billion.
$1 billion.
Holy shit, how is that even possible?
The quality isn't like melting my brain. I'm gonna be disappointed.
A little bit for real. Yeah.
Like I better be able to feel like I'm in Middle Earth.
Max, what do you hope for in life, and also in House of the Dragon?
Well, I hope first in the short term, I hope the Stepstone stuff is cool and it's just like lazy vague battle scenes like we got in Game of Thrones a lot.
Yeah, towards the end there.
Yeah, like I just don't want to like. It's gonna be cool to have like a dragon flying around, but I hope like there are stakes. I hope that it feels important. And like I hope it's compelling in the long term. Like I hope they really hit a lot of the the big notes, like the small council meeting right after Viserys dies is critical.
All right.
Yeah,
everyone knows Viserys dies.
Well, yeah. Anyway,
but no, I just hope they hit a lot of those notes from Fire and Blood that are actually pretty important. I hope they get the Kristen Cole stuff right. I hope Mushroom shows up.
I know, man. I hope so too, but it won't happen. I don't know.
Well, there's no reason to, because there's no conflicting narratives thing. So whatever.
True. We'll see where it goes. But till then, tune in next time when we talk about the third episode. Until next time, this is another episode of It's Daemon Time. Thanks for watching, everyone. Good night.